Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I know we had a subcommittee meeting that we had scheduled earlier for today, and then it got moved to after the session. So I appreciate everyone's flexibility. We are considering here a potential committee amendment to Senate Bill 496, which is the Relief Act that you will recall we passed through Ways and Means and ECM as well yesterday. This amendment attempts to address what I think can only be described as harmful, deeply harmful oversight in the bill, which is that the bill does not allow people who work and pay their taxes under an individual taxpayer identification number to receive the stimulus payment of $500 per family, $300 per individual who is income eligible, would be income eligible for the EITC if they were eligible for it. So, I mean, to clarify for folks, ITIN holders encompass a fairly large group, or people that file taxes encompass a fairly large group. So the exclusion of people who file their taxes under ITINs does exclude many undocumented immigrants, and also many legal permanent residents, many documented immigrants, and also in some cases U.S. citizens. For example, a U.S. citizen child whose parents are undocumented. And you know, I believe that we should help our neighbors. I don't wear my faith on my sleeve, but I'm a Christian, and one of the lines in Scripture, sections of Scripture that has always resonated the most with me is Matthew chapter 25, which says, "For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" The king will reply, "Truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." My faith teaches me that we have a moral obligation to help our neighbors when they're in need. And many of our neighbors are in desperate need and would not have received the support in this bill. And so I would like to move Amendment 965861/1, which has been sent to all of you, which would add the following language: "For a taxable year beginning after December 31st, 2018, but before January 1st, 2020, filed a federal tax return using an individual taxpayer identification number issued by the federal government, would have been eligible for the state earned income tax credit, but for the limitation under Section 32M of the Internal Revenue Code, or who resides in or is a permanent resident of the state on the effective date of this act." And what that amendment does is, for any ITIN filer who meets the income thresholds for the EITC but does not qualify because federal law discriminates against ITIN filers, and who still resides in the state of Maryland as of this date, would receive the stimulus payment. So I move that amendment.
Second.
Discussion.
Is there discussion on the bill? Delegate Buck?
Is there any type of scoring or fiscal analysis of how many people this would include and how much it would increase the let's just call it, for ease of conversation, the EITC spend portion of the bill?
The amount is about $30 million. The number of filers, George, I don't know if DLS has that yet.
So when you're calculating the $30 million, how do you calculate it if you don't know how many people will qualify?
No, I'm saying DLS does, I don't.
Okay.
If we're looking at the numbers of 2019 filers, would be about 60,000 people.
60,000
60,000 Maryland
people or family filers? I mean, I'm not trying to, it's not a quiz show, I'm just wondering. So are you saying 60,000 filers or 60,000 people?
60,000 filers.
Okay.
So, you know, whether they're filing as individuals or whether they're filing,
Right.
once again,
Joint.
Thank you.
And I guess my other question is, are there any other states that we're aware of that extend EITC level benefits to these I-10 individuals, undocumented or not, that basically come in as we would do now? I know we're doing it in the context of a stimulus, opposed to just a straight EITC eligibility bill. But are we aware if there's anywhere else in America that says, hey, we're going to give you our state benefits for the EITC, even though you're not federally eligible, you're just an I-10 filer?
I don't know the answer to that question, but it's a great idea to me. If people are working and paying taxes, I think they should be eligible for the ITC.
I believe that California does so.
California, as I often call us, California on the Chesapeake. So we just miss out on the sunshine and the billionaires and all the industry. Yeah, but other than that,
Mudslides and the earthquakes and the wildfires.
you know, you gotta take the pain if you want the pleasure, you know.
Are there other questions or discussion on this bill?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Delegate Barnes.
Yeah, let me just say that I think we're doing the right thing. You know, there are 7 members of the Maryland Legislative Black Caucus on this committee. We had a discussion centered around this important issue. We have had conversations with the Latino caucus around this issue. We have had this conversations with members on this committee around this issue, along with issues on how do we support as many people as we possibly can. And I believe that we are doing the right thing because they are tax-paying individuals here in the state of Maryland. And we should not pit one group against another, especially when we're trying to do the right thing. And that's provide some form of stimulus relief to Marylanders. I would not think we would be doing our job if we wanted to separate or segregate one group from another. I think we should be looking at this as how we are helping our small businesses in the state of Maryland, how we are helping families here in the state of Maryland. And now we have an opportunity to help the immigrant community here in the state of Maryland. So I humbly second to move this bill and to make sure that regardless if California or any other state in the union, that Maryland is taking the lead to say that we are looking out for Marylanders. And we are looking out for them in a way that we want to be trendsetters and make sure that we're moving in the right direction. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I strongly support this amendment and want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your work on this. It's been about 30 hours since the last time this subcommittee met, and I know that that time has been full of a lot of work and very little sleep. And I appreciate your efforts. George, thank you for your work and everyone who worked to make this happen. I agree with what Delegate Barnes said. This is the right thing to be doing, and I'm glad that Maryland is going to be taking this step to stand up for all of our residents and all of our residents in need. So thank you. I really appreciate the work that went into this.
Just to clarify the earlier response on states that allow I-10 holders to qualify for the EITC, it's actually 2 states. It's California and Colorado.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that from Delegate Polakovich-Carr. I appreciate that.
There you go. I'll go now to.
Why is she so much better at researching stuff quicker
Look,
than what I am?
she's just smarter than I am. That's what it comes down to. I'll do Polakovich-Carr and then Delegate Buckle.
Yeah, just very briefly, I would echo the sentiments of my colleagues. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for all your work on this, and I strongly support the amendment.
So the only question I had is you know, I don't go into the political machinations, but yesterday when we voted for this bill without this amendment, it was my understanding that there were a lot of moving parts to this bill. This is just one little part of it. And that what we all compromised on yesterday was essentially going to get the imprimatur from the Hogan administration, which one of the biggest parts of the bill was that they have to authorize hundreds of millions of dollars in supplemental budgetary spending in order to really make all of this work. Not to make this particular section work, we can do that through policy. But the appropriated monies, I think it's between 300 to 500 million, depending on how you look at it. The appropriated monies would have to come in a supplemental budget because they would go above and beyond the envelope of the current budget that's before the General Assembly. It was also my understanding yesterday that the Senate had agreed to the bill as put before us, that this had all been worked out. My concern is that, do we have any real sense? Because I have a real concern that the Hogan administration may say if you include this, it's not going to be a bipartisan bill anymore. And if you include this, you can pass the bill. But we may or may not decide to give you the extra funding. And by doing this, we may be helping one particular group of people that I'm sure I appreciate what my friend Delegate Lukey had to say. That's also your quote from the Bible was the basic, a wonderful U2 song that I like very much. They quote that extensively. But I'm concerned that maybe by helping that particular pocket in good faith, maybe we're going to wind up costing the overall success of the bill or delaying, even if we don't cost it forever. We want to get this relief to these folks tomorrow, next week, this month. We don't want to delay the appropriations process that was very carefully negotiated out by an awful lot of people from the Hogan administration and from the Senate. Have any sense of is doing this at this late date and in this way, are we going to spill an awful lot of milk legislatively over this today?
I can't speak for the Hogan administration, but I would be disturbed if the response of the administration to an attempt to feed people that are starving was to take away $85 million in utility relief and millions of dollars for our schools and millions of dollars for food banks.
Well,
Many other institutions in our society. So I can't speak for the Hogan administration.
okay. So basically all I'm trying to confirm, and I appreciate, the context you're trying to put it in. I mean, I think that's maybe a little apocalyptic for this one provision, but is it fair to say that by adding this to the bill and destroying the comity that we had all worked for weeks, and that we all wanted to put COVID-19 relief first to help people, is it possible that by doing so, the proponents of this are risking either delays or that they are risking some of the relief that they want, this hundreds of millions of dollars of relief for other groups, maybe slowed down or risked completely because we've kind of gone back on a deal and we've gone back on a plan that everyone bought into? Does anybody have any? If it's just me, I'll just vote and move on. But I think many of you, my friends, in support of this amendment should really think about that.
Again, I can't speak for the Senate or the governor.
Okay, thank you. That's
and
fair.
Delegate Barnes and then Delegate Feldmark, I think.
Yeah, so, Chairman, the bill that came from the governor asked for $1 billion relief package. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the Senate did not make any modifications to the bill, but they added $500,000 more dollars to the bill, correct?
520 million, yes.
520 million more dollars. And then this body reduced that amount to a couple of $100 million. So even adding in this provision to help additional Marylanders will still be under the threshold of the $1.5 billion that we have spoke about.
Yes.
So in my opinion, we just don't want to help a population in Maryland because the money that we're talking about is less than what came from the Senate and has now still less than the dollar amount, and we're able to help almost a little bit of everybody here in the state of Maryland. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate Feldmark, did you still want to say something?
I don't agree with the governor on everything, but I have to believe he has enough decency and humanity that he would not hold up this entire package over helping residents who feed us and take care of us and clean our offices and keep our society running. So I think we should move forward.
Delegate Ivy.
It was very sad to hear that members of the governor's staff were calling individuals and making threats if we were to stand with our ITIN community. And so I'm just so proud to see the Black Caucus in this subcommittee as well, standing and showing that we will not allow ourselves to be divided. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Further debate.
I don't want to debate anymore. I just want to make clear, I'm not sure who my good friend Delegate Ivy is referring to. I certainly don't want that impression created that I was called by the administration and threatened or put up to anything. I'm just suggesting to you that you're all very good people and you're passionate about a particular segment of this issue, and I appreciate that. And we have differences of opinion about some things. But in the world in which I live my private life as an attorney who negotiates deals all day long and reaches settlement agreements and tries cases and disputes, once you make the deal, all is moved down the road. You know, there's a reason that deal was made. There's a reason that the issues were made. And it would be my opinion that if you really want to create a program where these ITIN recipients would receive benefits, whether tied to EITC or otherwise, that you should do that at this juncture through a separate piece of legislation that can be considered up and down on its merits, rather than including it in this huge bill that all of us want to support, because all of us care about Maryland and all of us care about COVID relief and all of us understand how important it is to do something. But by interjecting this at this late date, and we all know something's got to be passed by tomorrow, or we're screwing up potentially the tax filing system and the processing of returns, I don't think that is the most sound way to do it, and it hinders negotiations. And I don't want that to be construed as the Hogan administration or the Republicans are bad people and they're going to take everything away because we did this. We're making these statements because when we negotiate with people, when we work through all of these issues, that once things are achieved and we've all voted, I believe that you need to move on from that. And if you have the issue, you need to bring it up somewhere else. So that's all I wanted to say, is that this isn't about being terribly against any one provision. It's more about the process, the reality, and a desire that I had, and I know Delegate Lukey said, all of us said, to truly make this a bipartisan bill that everybody could wrap around. I'm very concerned the way we're doing this and the late hour we're doing this may affect that. And that's all.
Delegate Long.
I just want to echo what Delegate Buckle said. I've been in real estate business for over 35 years. We enter into a contract. We honor what we say. And I feel like we're changing after we've already entered into this agreement. I actually had to swallow a hard pill to actually vote for this yesterday, but I'm thinking we need to help people as much as we possibly can. I thought it was a done deal. Now we're coming back to the table, we're changing stuff. And that's all I got to say. I'm just saying, I'm just echoing what Delegate Buckle had to say. Thank you.
Delegate Barnes.
Yeah, my last statement, Mr. Chairman, because, I was just listening to both of my good friends, Delegate Buckle and Delegate Long. And I've been a small business owner for a long time. And just like both of them, I negotiate contracts every day. And in the IT world and the construction world, there's sometimes what is called a change order.
Yeah.
And the change order allows you to make changes or make additions or subtract to or add to. And even though you had negotiated a deal, sometimes there's a change order that comes about to kind of keep the project moving along. And if Delegate Walker was still on his committee, he would say that in the world of sports and football, we call it an audible. Even though we had a play, sometimes we got to change the play in order to continue to move downfield. So I think, in the spirit of what we're doing, there's a change order. The change order is we want to figure out how do we help more Marylanders. And from a sports analogy, we want to call an audible, but we want to continue to move down the field, and we want to continue to help as many people as we possibly can. And I think this amendment allows us to do that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I will go ahead and call the vote, so we can move on to further conversations. I'm going to do a roll call, starting with, I'm just going down my list. Delegate Polakovich-Carr,
Yes.
Delegate Ivy,
Yes.
Delegate Feldmark,
Yes.
Delegate Buckle,
No.
Delegate Long,
No,
Delegate Barnes,
Absolutely.
and the chairman votes yes. The amendment passes subcommittee. We'll be turning now to, I think, a full committee voting session. Is that correct, Madam Chair? In the same link that we're doing the hearing in?
Yes, same link that the hearing's in. Please join us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the good debate.